Christopher Hemenway, and I am the founder and president of Hemenway Construction Management in Boston, Massachusetts. And today I want to walk you through some frequently asked questions that we get all the time about our company. Here is what we are going to go through. This is the entirety of the frequently asked questions that we often get, and this was compiled from inquiries we get through our website, through social media, and just in general when people call the general number for the company. Number one, what type of projects does Hemenway Construction Management specialize in? Hemenway Construction specializes in commercial projects with high levels of complexity in and around occupied spaces. Hemenway Construction performs retail, office, hotel, hospital, lab, and multifamily construction projects ranging in size from 3,500 square feet to 85,000 square feet. Hemenway Construction has built a portfolio around systems and processes to work in the congested buildings in Boston's most prominent neighborhoods. Whether working on a full historical gut restoration in the Back Bay, surrounded by pedestrian traffic, or working in a large multi-tenant building, performing retrofits in occupied spaces, Hemenway Construction is trained and seasoned to perform these projects professionally and successfully with neighbor and tenant engagement in the process. What type of projects does Hemenway Construction specialize in? Continued. At Hemenway Construction, we provide value by understanding the core intentions of our clients, ensuring that every aspect of the project meets those demands. What I mean by this is that if we are working on an affordable housing owner or working with an affordable housing owner who is performing deep energy retrofits on the project, we will select and or work with the professional design team to ensure the product's equipment, fit and finish for those plans and the construction is value engineered accordingly, and the correct subcontractors are chosen to meet those needs. Also, if we are working with a retail tenant space client with a very specific high level of visual finish, we plan and put together the team according to that vision, so that the vision of the client is effectively built out on the finished product with very meticulous attention to detail. Essentially, what I'm trying to say here is, over the years, we've found that clients will go out into the marketplace, find a team that somebody recommends, whether that be a designer or a general contractor, and they will just hire them because they got a recommendation from somebody. However, if that design team primarily works on multifamily and you're trying to get them to design a lab, or if that GC primarily works on labs and you're trying to get them to work in an affordable housing space, the values of those teams are not going to be aligned. So we strive to put the right teams together for the right project, and even if we come in late, we take a look at the project, we get back up to a 30,000 foot level with our client, take a look at what their intentions for the project and for the space are, both immediately and long term, i.e. whether they're going to hold on to it for a long amount of time or whether they're going to build it, sell it. And then we take a look at the project through that lens, and every decision we coach or bring to the client in terms of a potential decision or change in materials, whether that be higher specification to meet their needs or whether that be a value engineered less cost solution, we try to tailor it custom to what that client needs. And having been on so many projects over the past 2 decades, we can easily see and identify where there's misalignment. How early should we bring Hemenway Construction into our project? This actually ties in very closely to the first point, and we always like to be brought in as early as possible so that once again we can handpick, craft, and tailor that team to meet the needs of the project. At Hemenway Construction, we truly believe that every successful project should start with the builder's input, with the developer's input, with the client's input. We utilize a program developed in accordance with lean construction methodology called the last planner system. The reasoning behind the system is that if you can get the actual people who will be required to implement the work production, the foreman of the electrical team, the foreman of the plumbing team involved, you will have more accurate and up-to-date information to work with. Early involvement allows us to provide accurate budgeting, offer value engineering into the design, and not something that's an afterthought. Identify permit, logistical, and code challenges that will inevitably face that project depending on where it's located and what it's trying to do. Align schedule, procurement, and financing with the project and with the plans. Early engagement routinely saves clients 10 to 20% in costs and weeks to months in schedule savings. We provide pre-construction services to our clients and offer 50% of all associated costs to be credited upon an executed construction contract. In other words, when you work with us on pre-construction, it says right in the agreement that you can or will send it out to bid to other general contractors once pre-construction is completed. However, if Hemenway Construction is selected as the final general contractor, we will then issue a credit for 50% of all the costs of pre-construction right into our first construction, top line of the construction proposal. To continue, what is the difference between design bid build, and design build, and which one do you recommend? Design bid build is where the architect designs the project is sent out to bid, and then the contractor inevitably builds the project. A design build is where one team handles everything from design to completion. In other words, you hire a lead, in this case Hemenway Construction, who will manage all of the design, all of the permitting, all of the expediting, all the way through to building the project and handing it over. For all the reasons I've said thus far, we typically recommend design build. What that requires is a high level of trust early on, and obviously you have to know that that team is going to be there for you as your partner from design all the way to finish, and they're going to effectively be aligned with your goals and your purpose for the project. But what it can do is save massive amounts of time and cost. As we all know, time is money. There's holding costs, there's carrying costs, there's opportunity costs to not finishing a project, and then there's just raw costs through value engineering, designing in a more efficient manner, eliminating structural steel, etc., etc. And over our years of experience, we have found various ways and various people that we work with in order to accomplish both of those things. This avoids paying for services and consultants that aren't necessary for the project. A lot of times we come in and we'll bid a project, and we'll send it out to all our trade subs, and we'll get back, oh, this project is designed to be a high-rise in Manhattan when it's a 4-story building in East Boston. And they just over-design. They get engineers or architects that work on much larger projects, have a great reputation for those, but they over-design for the project, and they charge you premium prices to do so, and you won't get that money back. The design build process improves communication flow, whereby we have a centralized system of organizing all those contacts and a matrix of who's responsible for what with time frames and deadlines, so that at any point in time anyone on the team can check into that living document and see where they are and what's in their court, including the owner, by the way, including the client. Design build reduces change orders with fully coordinated and vetted planning during design. In other words, in the design bid build process, there's no contractors looking at the plans, so a lot of times you'll have architectural that doesn't align with structural, or you'll have MEP that doesn't align with structural or architectural, and when you send it out to bid, there'll be a certain amount that will be caught in RFIs, but essentially anything that's done in error on those plans, the client owns, and the GC and the trade subs will file change orders to rectify those errors on those plans. With the design build process, we work with the end user contractors to filter that information back up to the design team while they're designing it so that they're incorporated into the plans and effectively eliminate any of those tensions later on. Design build ensures that you get the most aligned team from day one for your specific vision and needs, and that's what we talked about earlier. Hemenway Construction works effectively in either situation. However, over the years, as I've said, of seeing the pitfalls of design bid build, we consistently see increased costs, time overruns, delays, and seek to eliminate that through the design build process. How do you ensure projects stay on schedule and within budget? So we touched upon this a little bit in design build, but we at Hemenway Construction utilize a system that is a lean construction methodology called the last planner system, and that brings in the foreman from all the trades into a room for a half a day to a day to take the entire schedule, put it all up on a board, and start talking about flow from one trade, overlap, things of that nature, and we get everyone to give their input and feedback before construction begins. We then, that meeting and that system then morphs into what we call a pull planning system, whereby the project schedule is hypothecated out to the very end, the completion certificate of occupancy, even into service contracts and warranty work. And then we pull those dates, those desired dates, back to the present, and then we track where we are in this day, this week, this month, in order to accomplish our finish end date goals. Transparent cost tracking. This is whether we do, a lump sum project or some form of cost plus or guaranteed maximum price. We always put all the pricing laid out in our schedule of values and then bill against that schedule of values every month so that you, as the client, can see the entire bookkeeping and where we're at on the project at any given moment in time. Internal design and engineering review. We always, as a matter of just working on the project, will look through the design and look for ways to make it more efficient, more in alignment with the client's goals, or looking for value engineering. And sometimes value engineering doesn't necessarily mean it'll be a less expensive item. Sometimes we value engineer things to get more value, even if it might cost more, but it might get more value for the client. One thing that comes to mind is like high energy European windows. Sometimes for a slight increase in cost, you can get a significantly higher performing window or glazing system on the building, and then your operating costs will reduce significantly. And that's something that we can investigate early on and issue a pro forma at what are the benefits of each and every suggestion that we make. Strong pre-construction planning goes into us getting involved as early as possible, us providing pre-construction services, and like I said, that ensures the projects stay on schedule and within budget. This approach allows us to deliver projects on time or early and often under budget. A lot of our projects where we do design bid build, the first few change orders are negative, and then any future change orders is just clients tweaking or changing their mind on things as we get through construction. Can you help with pre-construction services like budgeting, permitting, and feasibility studies? As we discussed, yes, we do pre-construction services. I work with a company called NOICM, and we get involved with feasibility and other type of sustainability and compliance reports. So We can help with any number of those things. I would suggest just call us, tell us what project you're thinking about, and we will suggest the services that we feel would be beneficial to you. But things like conceptual budgets, detailed estimating, value engineering, incentive and rebate analysis, constructability reviews, permit and zoning coordination, schedule development, sustainability and energy compliance assessments. This reduces overall risk and improves the return on your investment for that project from day one with a very low cost, low risk. How do you handle projects in occupied or sensitive environments? We get this one a lot. I personally came up through the trades and worked a lot in occupied spaces, whether that was retail, multifamily, affordable housing, or just congested, city neighborhoods. And number one priority is always safety, and you have to take into account the occupants of the building and the pedestrians who know nothing about construction, nothing about how to be aware in and around a construction site, and that's kind of step number one. But we pride ourselves on working in and around occupied spaces in high value, kind of high stress environments with very demanding neighbors and tenants. And we come up with systems to have constant communication and a system for them to reach out to us with any concerns before anything may happen, so that we can better handle those concerns and make them feel comfortable with the process and involved in the outcome, because generally the outcome is beneficial to everyone involved. Our approach includes detailed logistics and communication planning, noise, dust, and vibration control, off hours and phased work, tenant notifications, and safety protocols. We maintain operations, protect tenants, and minimize disruptions to your business throughout the construction process. Do you offer value engineering, and how does it work? Value engineering is kind of a buzzword now. Some people are actually trying to get away from the term value engineering, but essentially, with the cost of construction, the cost to acquire real estate, and the cost of capital, value engineering isn't really a luxury or an option. It's kind of necessary. So we get approached a lot now from different clients from any sector to look at projects and go through a value engineering process so that they can see whether or not they can even do the project. Like I said, I also work with a company called NOICM, and we get involved in rebates and incentives and try to add another layer of cost savings, if you will, in the form of direct cash rebates, tax incentives, things of that nature as well. So we really try to help our clients as much as we can. Value engineering identifies ways to reduce costs without sacrificing performance or quality. We evaluate alignment with project intentions. Once again, that's a big one for us. Depending on what your intentions for the project are, there can be sacrifices made in some areas, but no compromise in others in order to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish. Design coordination with the architect, mechanical and structural, very important. Material alternatives, mechanical systems, especially right now in the HVAC space. There's a lot of companies getting bought by other companies. There's a lot of consolidation going on. So we stay up to date with the latest information and see who's kind of getting the best equipment for the best value. Schedule accelerations and pinch points, design simplifications, and sustainability incentives. Our clients regularly save hundreds of thousands to millions through VE. Some examples include quantum computing lab, where we were able to save them in the millions by coming up with some very creative solutions by doing a design build with the mechanical team and with the owners. I have to definitely give the owners credit for working with us on that one. Church, we were able to save them in the hundreds of thousands And part of that was also through NOICM's team providing and procuring grants that they didn't know were available. And then affordable housing, whether that be deep energy retrofits or new construction. We've just recently had 2 projects where we've done deep energy retrofits, and they were able to save 20% in direct rebates. In other words, just cash directly given to the project through some of the programs we were able to find for them. What is the experience working with Hemenway Construction? So we've broken this out into a few parts. Within 10 days of receiving an approval to move forward on a construction project, we will generate an AIA contract documents and send them over for review for the attorneys and signature by all parties. We will then mobilize on the job site. This can mean different things depending on the project type and the size, but typically includes setting up project fencing, site security, setting up a site office and a site toilet, getting all the necessary tools, equipment, and storage to the site to begin the work, notifying all the trades, subcontractors, vendors, and partners that the project is live. Like I said, whether we've done pre-construction or just the bidding process, everybody is aware of this project and looking to put it on their schedule. So we will then let everybody know and schedule that initial last planner meeting. Issue the official construction schedule, which sets the tone for the last planner meeting and all construction owner, architect, and contractor meetings moving forward. We will conduct the initial last planner meeting where we put that initial schedule up on the wall, and all the principal subs and vendors will verify their construction schedules, coordination with each other and with materials that need to be in at a certain time, inspections that need to be taking place, things like that. We will identify any existing or new long lead time items or potential problems with materials and equipment procurement, including logistics, getting them to the site. Once the project is commenced, it's handled by the construction production team, which consists of a construction superintendent who is on site, responsible for code compliance, conforming to the plans and the specifications, and also just setting the tone for the control of the project and the site. The project manager handles all of the ordering, materials, behind the scenes billing, and the administration of all the project management software. The site foreman is on site. There could be multiple site foremen, generally responsible for daily site safety checklists, reporting directly to the construction superintendent, filling out daily construction logs with photo documentation, things like that, and the project accountant. The project accountant is responsible for keeping track of every penny that goes in and out of the project, ensuring that everything's within the budget, there's no anomalies, and identifying any potential issues early so that they don't balloon into something that is, bad news for either Hemenway Construction or the client. The team's main focus and purpose is to implement the construction production as per the intention of the project and in accordance with the project documents on time and on budget. That's the main goal of the project construction team. What kind of visibility will we have into the project during construction? This is a question we get from potential clients. As said earlier, we provide transparent, real-time updates through weekly progress reporting, and this is done through owner, architect, contractor meetings. These meetings cover the agenda and they track all open items and projected items that will need attention. There's also a 3-week look ahead for the project schedule at each OAC meeting. Financial cost tracking via monthly billing. This is the project billing. There will be, along with the project billing, a change order log or a potential change order log, and all the subcontractor lien waivers. So everything will be lined up and transparent, as I said, billed from the schedule of values that was compiled in the beginning of the project. There will be live schedule updates online. So in other words, the schedule lives online. You can access it both in a calendar format or a Gantt format, which is a typical construction schedule format where you can see the milestones needed to hit and kind of what's on the critical path. In other words, what needs to be done before the next phase of construction can begin. And that lives on our project management software online, which is accessible to the project team. Live documents and management online via the project management software. You'll have access to the RFIs, all the submittals, most up-to-date plans, any change orders, and all the photos, both from the daily logs and then also additional photos that are uploaded to that software. There will be daily logs uploaded on a daily basis. Those identify daily progress and tracking photos and video. They also have the date, the weather, and other pertinent information about who was on site and what work was done. We also do 360 photo documentation, which is something we do at different intervals during the project. And these are tied to the floor plans, so you can open them up and click different locations on the floor plan, and then you'll be able to open up and see a 360 view of that location at different stages of the project. So when it was just dirt, when it was a foundation, when it was rough framed, when all the rough mechanical was done, all the way to the finished product. And you can kind of track that progression. This is an invaluable service that we offer, and as soon as we found out about it, we started offering it, even though some larger firms still to this day don't offer it. But what it does is when the project's done, we can hand that off to the client and to whoever's going to be managing the building. And if there's ever any need to know what's going on behind a wall, you want to rerun a pipe, redo a bathroom, anything for any reason, you can go back to that photo, look behind the wall, see exactly where the pipes run, and it just helps immensely in many different situations. But in other words, we strive to provide full transparency, full visibility to the project at all times, and address any and all concerns that a client may have at all times during a project. What should I expect for project closeout and warranty? This is commonly missed or not asked by a lot of clients, but it is very important. And what we do from Hemenway Construction standpoint is we think about the project closeout, warranty, and service of the building from day one. So project closeout includes the finalization of an owner and architect punch list to satisfaction. At the end of the project, a punch list will be generated. Hemenway Construction will then go through, complete the punch list to a satisfactory manner, and they will sign off, and the project is done. We will then hand off a closeout package, which consists of any as-built drawings. So those are the drawings that were issued, marked up for any changes that happened during the construction process. If a duct moved, etc., we'll mark it up on the plans. Those are the as-built drawings. There's also things like shop drawings for casework, kitchen cabinetry, things of that nature. All the equipment manuals, so every piece of equipment will have a manual and its own warranty, and oftentimes the owner of the building has to go through and register those pieces of equipment. So we'll hand all that off with instructions to the client. And then the photo documentation, which we discussed earlier, is that 360 photo documentation tied to the plans. Service contracts for any and all equipment installed requiring regular maintenance and service. This is something we always look to do. If it's not the installing contractor, we try to find the right service contractor for the project that works, well. If it's a, data center, you're gonna need a totally different service contractor for your HVAC than if it's a apartment complex. There's just different guys who do those different type of service contracts. There might be building management systems that need to be maintained, and there might be new heavy equipment that comes with service contracts. It's very important that those service contracts are handed off to the client and they understand what is required, because The problem is with a lot of buildings, they just get handed off, and the new owners, whether they be like a condo association or an apartment complex owner, they don't know what's required to maintain that building, and you can have brand new equipment within 1 or 2 years start to fail if it's not properly maintained, and that's, it's just a tragedy. So we take that very seriously, and we make sure to hand that off and have clients at least get their first year service. They know what they're doing, they get it signed off if it's not included already in the installation contracts from our subs. We provide a master warranty consisting of the overall project warranty as well as every trade subcontractor warranty. All materials warranties will be included, and all instructions for appliance and equipment warranties as well. So typically we have a 1-year unconditional warranty on everything in the project. We like to schedule a 9 to 11 month walkthrough as the warranty is about to expire, just to go through, check all the systems, make sure there's no issues, and that way we'll give ample time to whoever's using the building to make and report those before the 1-year period expires. And closeout packages are typically entirely digital via hard drive now. However, sometimes in some cases we'll leave physical bound packages behind, whether that's smaller ones for units or whatever the case may be. But we don't typically leave like a giant package in the mechanical room anymore. Everything's digital on hard drives and can be accessed by people remotely these days. How do you manage subcontractors and quality control? This is a big one, especially nowadays. Since 2020, there's been a lot of issues with the labor shortage, so this is a very valid question. So since 2020, our business development team at Hemenway Construction works equally as hard as getting new clients as finding and vetting new subcontractors and bringing them into the mix and kind of interviewing them and seeing where they would fit in working with Hemenway Construction. Like I said, we work on a wide variety of different types of projects, and we try to choose the right team for the project. So that's part of it, is just having a wide network of subcontractors who have different specializations and only bringing them onto projects that are in their wheelhouse, not trying to make them work far outside of their comfort zone. That's where a lot of times people will get into trouble, especially when there's a shortage. So we only work with vetted subcontractors with strong reputations. If we haven't worked with them before, we make sure to interview the last half a dozen projects they've worked on to make sure they align with what they're telling us. As I said, since 2020, the nature of the construction labor force, we've spent an equal amount of time business development, finding and vetting subs as we do searching for new clients. During construction, our on-site supervisors and project managers, one of their main jobs is to ensure in-house quality control inspections at specific intervals. We've adopted this practice just into our processes here and our standard operating procedures, whether they're required by the project or not. And these include underground soil testing and inspections before backfill, rebar and structural steel testing by a third party, structural framing testing, whether that's visual or otherwise, roofing testing either by a third party or by manufacturers, air and vapor barrier testing by a third party, window installation and envelope flashing details overall weather tightness by a third party, air sealing and insulation tested by a third party, and then all the finishes. We have a separate crew or division in our company that comes in at the very end, who's more of like our interior design specialists, and they help with quality control to make sure that the finishes match the drawings and what the client wants for that final punch list. Third-party quality control inspections at specific intervals, as I stated, compaction tests, rebar and structural steel connections, concrete testing, weather tightness and water testing. Water quality testing in some cases is required. Mechanical equipment commissioning in some cases is done by third parties, and testing and balancing, ensuring that the HVAC system is working within the proper parameters for the space. So these are just some things, and like I said, we've developed these operating procedures specifically for the type of project over the years of us just working on these projects, seeing what problems arise after systems are installed, and catching them while we're doing the work, and having a third party come in as an extra set of eyes. Sometimes when you're doing construction, you can't see the forest through the trees. It's right in front of you. Whereas a third party will come in and just see something that the whole team missed, including architects, engineers, clients, just because we walk by it every day or whatever the case may be. So yeah, we've found that no matter what, it's better to just have these inspections done in-house and by third parties, so that we just check all the boxes. And that's how we manage subcontractor quality control. Because at the end of the day, we can't rely on subs to quality control themselves. We do rely on subs to be professional and professional tradesmen who want to do the best possible job. But at the end of the day, it's Hemenway Construction's responsibility to be the quality control manager who runs this project for our clients. Continuing along that same line, the daily communication logs, site foremans check daily work against weekly schedule developed by the superintendent PM, and they keep track of that on a daily basis in accordance with our 3-week look ahead to make sure that we're on track. If there are any issues with subs not showing up, they are aggressively handled before turning into a pattern that disrupts the project schedule. I will say that before 2020, I had never once had to fire a subcontractor as a construction manager. And since 2020, we have had to fire a few. In 2 cases before the project even began, they were just showing red flags of not being able to comply with what we had come up with for a project schedule. So we had other contractors lined up and brought them in the beginning. And then once during construction for just blatant failures. And they were having trouble as a company with their crew, losing members of their crew. It was an electrical firm, and they were just dwindling. So we had to switch them out after a rough inspection. So ensuring that we are on top of seeing those red flags ahead of time, 98% of the time, it can be course corrected with just stern and constant communication. Safety compliance. The site foreman as well is tasked to do a daily site safety checklist and ensure that all subcontractors are following the prescribed safety measures. Superintendent ensures that all OSHA and general safety protocols are followed throughout the logistics of the construction production. So in other words, the foreman is making sure everyone has their proper PPE, making sure that they're just walking around on a daily basis. Maybe the framers pulled a safety railing, a temp railing, so they could move around, making sure they put it back. And the superintendent is more setting the course for the logistics of the entire project, making sure that materials handling, movement around the site, heavy equipment, things of that nature are done and planned in a safe and efficient manner. Trade coordination is done daily and weekly to ensure that there are no conflicts, and also to allow our in-house team to help with logistics, staging materials correctly throughout the site, and doing work in the proper sequence. And this is done through daily stand-up meetings in the morning to make sure we know who's working where, and if something needs to be tweaked or moved around, we can have like a 3-day look ahead to plan for those things. Punch list tracking and resolution is done via online project management software, so it is visible to all parties with photo documentation to back it up as it's done and checked off the list. Quality is not just a phase, it's built into every day of the project through constant communication, systems, and processes. And this is something that we strive for. It helps us as a construction management firm, less callbacks, less problems, and it helps the client get the project that they are expecting. Do you help clients navigate energy compliance and sustainability requirements? As I said earlier, I am part of a company called NOICM, and this is a major area of our expertise. The NOICM team consists of an energy expert, a commercial real estate expert, a owner's rep who's been in the business for 30 years, and myself who's been in construction for 25 years. And we help clients meet local energy ordinances and emission laws, secure rebates and incentives, improve building efficiency, increase NOI through long-term cost savings, avoid and reduce future compliance penalties, which there are many cities and now on a state level that are implementing requirements for compliance, and they're issuing penalties for not complying. So we know what these are, and we know what the requirements are, and we can do assessments and analyses of your building to see what needs to be done to stay in compliance. It's especially valuable for multifamily developers and commercial building owners with properties over 20,000 square feet. That is where the compliance kicks in, and that's also where kind of the return on investment for doing some of these things kicks in at scale. But we do these for all projects, and we have successfully, as I stated, been implementing this with rebates, incentives, and doing some of these studies with the passive house windows and things of that nature with new equipment for energy safe operating costs. So yes, we do that. I do work with NOICM. I'll bring them in for a lot of those services. What separates Hemenway Construction from other contractors? I will say I've been doing construction in Boston for 25 years, and I have met a lot of great contractors. I look up to a lot of companies that have been around for 50, 60, 70 years, and I try to take from them, the best that I can learn, while also applying kind of what I see as what clients are looking for nowadays that may not necessarily be industry standard or what's been offered in the past. We live in an age of technology where transparency is, and knowledge and just being aware of what's going on is expected. And the old way of doing things is kind of like holding information close to the chest, being the expert, and then filtering that to your client. So we strive to kind of push into the new way of being transparent and being more of a partner with our clients. But things that clients consistently tell us is that we communicate better than any contractor that they've worked with. Our numbers are transparent and more detailed than other contractors. We solve problems. We don't create them. We're honest and transparent through every challenge. We bring design, construction, and energy expertise under one roof. We protect the budgets like they're our own company, like it's our own money. I've had arguments with architects and other consultants on projects where they've told me in private, what do you care? It's not your money, or, why are you making such a big deal out of this? And, I know a lot of clients don't know some of this information that we work with on a daily basis. So being equipped with the knowledge to know whether you need a certain service or what things cost, I just think it's valuable to a client, and I think it's my duty to share that and pass that on. We work like partners and not vendors. In short, we build relationships as strong as the projects that we deliver. How do we get started? So it's pretty simple. You can call us at 617-955-5051 and start the conversation. Tell us about your project. Tell us what you have going on. Like I said, even if it's just an idea that you have, even if you're planning out long term, we'd love to talk to you. Give us our 2 cents and see if it's something that we can get in early and help you save some time and some money. A quick discovery call, a site walk, a review of your plans, a feasibility or budgeting session, and we will give you our best foot forward and our recommendations on what we think are the next steps for your project, and give you any free advice during that process, whether you work with us or not. So thank you very much. This is just the initial, most common, frequently asked questions that we get here at Hemenway Construction. I hope that some of this was helpful. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out. I am happy to share anything about our company and our processes and the industry as a whole with anyone who would seek to ask. Thank you very much and have a great day.